like to call to order the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission for Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We do roll call.
Chair Longstreet, Vice Chair Clark, Commissioner Armbruster, Commissioner Lesnar-Buxton, Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, Commissioner McGill, Commissioner Perry.
Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, we don't.
Okay, looks like we don't have any written communications. So now's the time for public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not scheduled for a public discussion before the commission. The total amount of time for public comments will be 15 minutes. Do we have anyone here for that? Nope. I don't see anyone from Youth Council. Oh, great.
Chair Clark and members of the commission, Roberta Payan, who works with our youth council, is going to do a report on their behalf.
Hello, everybody. You can hear me, right? Thank you for allowing me to make the report. Several of our members are real busy with graduation and testing, so it's my first time. Thank you. Okay, so the Youth Council, in partnership with Future Leaders of America and PAL, hosted a successful teen leadership conference, which is our annual event. Healthy communities, healthy teams. We hashtagged it this time with what's next because we want to continue the momentum. We had approximately 60 teens registered for the conference. We had 2 general sessions. The first one was on our project Alma. That's the Youth Making Change grant that we got on undocumented teens. We did focus groups and surveys, and we were encouraged by the results. So we did a PowerPoint presentation, had a great panel. One of our youth council members had made a documentary called Stand with Dreamers, so we showed that, and actually had a panelist who had been in a detention center and came back home. So it was really interesting. The other general session was on gun safety. We flew out a mother of a survivor from Parkland, Florida, and actually Dan Blumenthal was very nice enough to host her. And she came out, she was on the panel, it was led by youth, very interesting. She described the whole day to us and what they're doing over there in their community now, so it was really interesting. It was rated the #1 session at the conference. In addition to that, we had other workshops including teen advocacy, teen wellness, and good evaluations. Monday night, we hosted our 17th annual Youth Leadership Awards banquet. Different venue this time. We had it at the Western and Carriage School Museum. Yeah, so it was really interesting. We honored about 25 youth from different youth serving agencies. Great youth doing outstanding things. Brian Kerr from PAL was the Mentor of the Year, so that was really cool. The Food Bank from Santa Barbara County was the Agency of the Year. We're currently doing interviews for new youth council members. I think we have about 5 openings now. So we have one more interview, and then City Council has interviews, and then I believe they'll be appointed in June, I think. Let me see, what else? June 4th, we will have our end-of-the-year dinner at Casa Las Palmas. We have 3 seniors that will be leaving the council, going on to college. Jensen usually comes out and does the report. He won an award and was busy with his brother today. So let me see, the new youth councils will begin again in July. After June, we take a hiatus for the summer. And, I forgot to mention, we've been working very closely with the Coalition Against Gun Violence. I understand, I've met with them a couple times, they're forming a task force, and they have a lot of, different ideas, to implement some gun safety programs and other ordinances or, talking about doing some stuff on campus. So at this point, it's not a full-blown task force, but we are working with them to get more familiar on this, the statistics, the legislature that's coming up, and are we going to take a formal stance? Or they've also been submitting articles for the new East Side and West Side newspaper on different topics. So the youth have been very busy. I'm looking forward to the next year with new members, and that's my report. Any questions?
Great. Yeah, I have a question. If we wanted to watch the documentary Stand with Dreamers, where would we be able to find that?
You can go on YouTube and Stand
really?
with Dreamers. It's made by Jennifer Hernandez. Oh my God, I almost forgot. We also did a public service announcement on the secondhand smoke ordinance. Every year we get a little grant from the County of Santa Barbara, TPSP, Tobacco Prevention Settlement Program. And we do different projects. This time we did surveys on State Street, actually documenting how many people were smoking and time of day and what they were smoking. Once the ordinance was implemented, now we're doing merchant education. So the youth have been trained to go out, and we have the little decals, and we have the memorandum from the city and the county. And we have a sheet of frequently asked questions, resources how to quit smoking. So we'll continue with that partnership. And that's about it for now. I forgot that one. So the PSA will be coming out. I'm sorry. We worked with Tony Ruggieri at City TV on that one. So he's going to upload that one to YouTube soon. We had hoped to show it to City Council and you also. So we're hoping to get maybe on your agenda soon and show you that PSA. It came out really cool. We did it in English and Spanish. All the youth council did it, and City TV did an awesome job directing, producing. Okay, now I'm done.
Thank you so much. You guys have been busy and productive.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, I would just like to acknowledge that Nathaniel from the Youth Council did just show up. So if you have any questions for him or he'd like to provide additional information, he is here, and want to acknowledge the effort that he also made to come to your meeting.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel, as she said. Just one more thing I would like to add about our work with the Coalition Against Gun Violence. So we have multiple things in mind for what we're going to do. It's going to be youth-oriented, right? We're trying to make things safer for children, for us at schools, given the recent events that have happened. But one of those goals is to get the city council to pass a resolution to try to pass stricter gun laws. So that might be something that you would see, as you guys are also an advisory board. So that might be, I thought you guys would want to know. But other than that, Roberta pretty much got everything. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Please keep us posted on your efforts.
we will.
Okay. So that brings us to Commissioner Committee Assignment Reports. We'll start down with Roger.
We'll start here.
Oh, no, BB starts there.
I attended the Arts and Crafts meeting last week, and I'm sorry I missed the one the month before, because what they're going through right now is kind of a reorganization as to, are we going to be an art show with a craft tale, or are we going to blend arts and crafts amongst the walkway? So I was able to witness the artist portion of the lobbying at their last meeting, and it was very passionate about why they should stay separate. But they are looking for solutions, and I'm optimistic they're going to find something good.
The Creeks Commission or Creeks Advisory Committee meeting was canceled this month, so I have nothing to report.
Kathy?
The Park Foundation meeting was canceled this month. We did do one small piece of email business, but other than that, nothing to report.
I attended 3 youth council meetings. I think and one words back which is very good. I'm continuously impressed with all young people in the city.
Well, thank you. I think it's really great. We have a youth council liaison again. That brings us, I went to the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting, which we'll be talking about later on this agenda, where we had lively discussions about all the trees that we visited, as always. And that brings us to commission and staff communications. All right. And that brings us to ceremonial items.
Chair Clark, Emily Fox will be doing the presentation for our recognition today.
Okay, as mentioned, I'm Senior Recreation Supervisor Emily Fox. I oversee the Youth Activities section, which includes inclusion services and adapted programs, as well as oversee the sports and tennis sections. For the past 20 years, Debbie Badger has played an integral role in providing enriching opportunities for youth in the Santa Barbara area after school. As the After School and Expanded Learning Education Director, she oversees both the year-round and after-school education and safety programs, or ACEs, within the Santa Barbara Unified School District for traditional kindergarten or transitional kindergarten through 8th graders. These programs provide a safe, engaging, and enriching after-school environment for all students that attend. And they provide academic programs that help bridge that gap between the end of the school day up until 6 p.m. when the programs end. Debbie has worked tirelessly to ensure the programs she oversees are a model recognized throughout the state of California. She and her team have developed innovative programs as well as partnerships with other organizations to be able to provide specialized activities as well as field trips to all the students that are involved in these programs. In addition, that includes the partnership that she's helped develop and foster with the Recreation Division, where we provide staff as well as Spark curriculum at 6 of the after-school program sites. Debbie is an outspoken advocate for the benefits of after-school programs. She's an advocate both locally as well as known throughout the state of California. Her leadership and commitment to operating exceptional programs has had a tremendous impact on Santa Barbara. I've had the pleasure of working with Debbie for the past 2 years, and I can say without a doubt she is one of the most dedicated and compassionate professionals I have absolutely ever worked with. The Parks and Recreation Department appreciates the strong partnership that Debbie has fostered with the Parks and Recreation Department and the Recreation Division for the AOK after-school programs, and we are exceptionally grateful for the 20-plus years she has dedicated her life to providing enriching after-school programs for youth in all of Santa Barbara. I can say you will be tremendously missed, and we are so appreciative of everything you've provided the last 20 years. You have truly made Santa Barbara and its youth have put them in a better position because of the time and dedication you've given. Thank you.
Did you come up and say anything?
Chair Clark and commissioners, I'm humbled by this. And it is an honor to be able to stand here before you. I have to tell you, though, the accolades really need to go to the leadership team, and it's really the work between the city, Parks and Rec, as well as the district. We have come out of the closet. We are put on the map. The Central Coast has been put on the map at the state level. And the engaging and enriching and innovative activities that are provided are because of our partnership. And I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart that you are serving 700 students a day. It was interesting at the partnership luncheon that we held in February. I shared with many of them that when I worked for the YMCA and I ran after-school programs, parents of influence had to work, had to go to school, Joyce Dudley being one of them. And I know that they really wished that they could provide Girl Scouts, sporting activities, lessons, tennis lessons, theater, all those activities for their children, but they weren't able to. Our low socioeconomic students that are enrolled in AOK are given all those opportunities at this point. So hopefully we have ignited a spark in them to be able to find their passion and be able to really be successful in society. On behalf of myself, thank you. This is an honor. And again, I said I'm humbled, and I appreciate this partnership so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to say, as a working full-time single mother, I can't even express gratitude for what you've done for our youth in our community.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Again, thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you. I hate to run, but I have to get over to the corral.
All right.
Sixth graders from our feeder schools are going over there for a visit.
Great.
Thank you.
Let's see. Does anybody have any questions on the summary of council actions? Okay. And our minutes are attached. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Now we are to Tim.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, the first item is 3645 San Jose Lane. The applicant wishes to remove this large Mexican fan palm. Their concerns are that the head of the tree is starting to lean towards the property. The committee reviewed that this lean is natural for this species with age. There doesn't seem to be any defects in the tree. And the committee didn't feel that that was a legitimate reason to approve removal. However, they looked at the immediate neighborhood and they saw plenty of broad canopy trees and no real palms anywhere in the immediate area. So they felt it was out of place in the neighborhood. So their recommendation is to approve the removal as proposed.
Does anybody have any questions?
And there's not a requirement for a replacement tree?
Chair Clark and Commissioner Cohen, if you look closely, in their front yard, they've got a young ginkgo tree that's developing. Mm-hmm. There are also a couple of other trees very close that are developing. The committee felt that that was ample for the area and not recommending a replacement.
Yes, and turn your microphone on too. Thank you.
Is that better? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the palm at 36456? Okay, please. You have 2 minutes.
I'm William McConnell. My mother is the homeowner there. And so we submitted the application as indicated because we have concern with the tree leaning so much now at the top. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it is, the only thing that's nearly that tall in the neighborhood. And it was a volunteer 40 years ago or something. We didn't plant it. You didn't plant it. It was fine when it was smaller. It's really becoming a concern to us whether technically it should be or not. There's an emotional problem with this tree and us, and we would prefer something smaller. Whether you decide to plant it or we come up with something, but at the moment our priority is to try to get this down if that's possible. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any more discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to agree with the street tree committee and their recommendation to approve the removal of the palm.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, the second item on your agenda is 242 La Vista Grande Drive, eucalyptus species. The tree is at the back of the parcel, which is adjacent to Alameda Padre. The request is due to multiple items. With the recent fires, there's concern for fire safety. They've noted that this species is one that can be combustible, and the tree drops a lot of leaves onto their decking, and they have concerns for its safety falling into Alameda Padre. The committee reviewed those items and determined there's no signs the tree's likely to fall. It's been pretty well maintained. The debris can be cleaned up, and the fire issue for eucalyptus would only be relevant if there was a fire ladder to create enough heat and fire at the base of the trees to cause it to ignite. And in this situation, there's very little plant material at the base, so there isn't a fire ladder to ignite the tree. So they didn't feel the reasons of the applicant were sufficient to justify removal, and the recommendation is to deny the removal.
Any questions?
Do you have any comments based on attending the meeting? I'm just curious.
Well, what I saw was a beautiful, striking tree that was in character with the rest of the neighborhood, and it didn't seem like it was, as Tim said, it's not really a fire risk, and it's healthy. It's not going to fall over anytime soon onto APS. And I think that's what the majority of the people felt.
Can I ask a sort of probably a stupid question? Having driven by it today, I was just, at what point does a street tree become a setback tree and vice versa? This thing's like right on the road.
Chair Clark, Commissioner McGill, excellent question. In a situation where there is no sidewalk, a fully improved parkway and sidewalk, the municipal code states that the city is responsible to maintain it if it's within 6 feet of the built roadway. It's close. I measured it, but it's just outside of the street right of way, so it's private responsibility and therefore a setback tree.
Anybody else? Yes, Roger.
If it is denied and it should go down and cause damage, is the homeowner the responsible party or the city?
Chair Clark and, sorry, thank you, Commissioner Perry. Blanked on your name, I apologize. The homeowner is liable for anything that happens as a result of their property. A decision to deny the removal doesn't preclude them from, one, either appealing that decision or coming back to us at some later date with new information if there were an arborist report giving reasons why the tree was unstable. Although we didn't observe any defects when we looked at it, those would be valid reasons to review the tree again, and that would be an opportunity in the future at some point.
Anyone else?
Just one quick one. So going to the fire risk, is that, how do I ask this? Is there would there be a consensus with, say, the fire department on this being a fire risk or not being a fire risk, with given the underbrush being the way it is, which I agree is sparse?
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, we didn't contact the fire department about this specific issue. They do generally support removal of eucalyptus in high fire hazard areas, but in this situation, it's my opinion that they would not rise to the level that they, that they would order the removal because of the lack of a fire ladder issue. And just to add to that, a fire ladder is when a fire occurs, there's debris underneath that can create a ladder up to the tree. Typically, that's ground covers, loose debris, shrubs, and then low branches of the tree that can then ignite and create that ladder up to the canopy of the tree.
Is there any more discussion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to, again, concur with the street tree committee and deny the removal.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Chair Clark and I almost said it. Chair Clark and Commissioners, the 34 through 3700 block of Modoc Road tree designation has been before you twice before. The Commission at last month's meeting sent it back to the committee for more discussion about the designation. The committee had quite a diverse discussion about species they'd like to see in that corridor. Staff has assured them that we'll look for opportunities elsewhere in the project near the roadway that we could plant other species to enhance the appearance of a monoculture along there. And after discussion, they recommend the Commission co-designate Linophthamnus floribundus splendifolius Santa Cruz ironwood to be co-designated in the 34 through 3700 blocks of Modoc Road.
Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding this? Being privy to multiple meetings regarding this co-designation along Modoc Road, I just want to express how impressed I am with staff and the staff committee's ability and willingness to work together when they came from different points of views. I think the solution represents satisfaction on everybody's part. I think it's a solution that is going to prevent untoward and extra maintenance on having too many species in one spot that the Parks Department has to maintain. And I do believe that the Parks Department will try indeed to introduce other species and prevent a total monoculture as they have expressed they will. Would anyone like to make a motion? You may, please.
So before, and I'm happy to make a motion. Somebody's got to try to say all this. Yeah, I just also wanted to express appreciation to Mr. Downey and recognition that I think part of your job is making sure that the budget goes as far as possible, and balancing the tree diversity with making sure that your dollars can go as far as possible. I think you were doing your job, and I appreciate that, so thank you. And I will make a motion that the Commission adds Lionothamnus floribundus aspenfolius as a co-designated tree for the 3400 to 3700 stretch of Modoc, with Quercus tomentia as approved before.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Yeah, and I would just echo the thanks. I know you guys had a lot of patience on this whole issue, so thank you for trying to make everybody happy.
Let's see. And that brings us to our director's report.
Chair Clark and members of the commission, a few things. It's a busy month for Parks and Recreation, but actually I don't think there ever is a month that isn't busy. It's just what we're doing sort of changes. Sometimes it's more busy than others, and certainly now that we're about to enter the summer season, it gets a little crazy. So we thought we'd throw in 4 workshops before June. As you know, we We recently had council approval to hire 2 different design firms to help us come up with some renovation plans for Bonet Park, to create a splash playground at West Beach, and to develop master plans for Dwight Murphy and Ortega Park. It's our goal to have completed master plans and design work by the end of this calendar year, which is fairly aggressive, but it does give us an opportunity to really see what's feasible and get a sense of what it would cost to move forward. And once we have that work done, it also positions us in a way to secure funding when opportunities arise. So the quicker that we move this forward, hopefully the better it'll position us as funding becomes available. So first of all, we had our first one last evening at Bonet Park. We had a good turnout. The firm SWA brought their concept and presented it, and then proceeded to walk the group around the park to talk about different elements. Got some great feedback. We will be before the commission next month to present that outcome, and as well, and also the work effort that was done subsequent to the meeting to integrate the ideas that we got from residents that were there. We have one tomorrow evening at West Beach at the Splash Playground area, and as I understand it, we're getting a lot of feedback and anticipate there'll be quite a few people, lots of excitement. How could one not be excited about something like that? And we'll be conducting that one, and again also bringing it to you at your June meeting, and it'll give you the opportunity to weigh in on the direction that it might be going. And then next week we have Dwight Murphy Field Master Plan and first community meeting, and then on Saturday at Ortega Park. So a lot going on, and we anticipate we'll be back to you with those projects as subsequent month. I think it's August was our goal for that. Just because we don't have enough to do, the Creeks Division is holding a couple of meetings at Hidden Valley Park to talk about some creek work that they're proposing along Arroyo Burrow. It's a gem of a little park. It was created when that neighborhood developed. We have a nice little developed area, but we also have a beautiful creek that needs a lot of attention. So they've been working on this project for quite a while, and they'll be bringing it to you at the next meeting with the idea that we can move forward with constructing it this summer and doing those improvements. And then lastly, as you know, between the fires and the mudslides, we've had tremendous damage on some of our front country trails. So much so that it could take quite a long time to rehabilitate some of them, since they don't exist where they used to anymore. Some of these trails are on public property, so there's more latitude in figuring out what to do. Some of these trails pass through both private and public property, and there's easements over the private property. So we need to look at whether we can rebuild a trail within the existing easement or whether it becomes more complicated. There are a number of really dedicated trails groups that really make our trails what they are, because there is no funding to maintain them on a regular basis. So we have a lot of tremendous volunteer group and a lot of passion in that community to bring our trails back. So as part of the department's participation in that effort, we hosted a meeting a couple of weeks ago to bring everyone together to begin strategizing. What can we work on first because it's easier? What's going to take longer, and what questions do we need to answer? Which trails can the city proceed with? So, for example, we're working with securing FEMA funds to address Cold Spring Trail, because that's the one that's mostly within our ownership, whereas the county can focus on other trails. And then there are trails that the Forest Service oversees or has easements over that they aren't eligible for FEMA funds. Federal agencies don't give federal agencies funding. So looking strategically at how do we find ways to recover those trails. There is a lot of interest in the community, hopefully for fundraising, so private support to move these forward. So I anticipate over the next couple of months, as we get a better sense of what kind of federal resources we might get from FEMA and other resources, and really how tall the task is, depending on the trail, we'll actually be able to get folks out there and begin working on them. There is a meeting after your meeting tonight at the Faulkner Gallery that's being hosted by the Trails organizations to try to pass on some of the information that we've discussed and things that they're working on. I believe it starts at 6:30 and it's in the Faulkner Gallery. So we'll keep you posted as we move forward. We've been working with these groups for about 10 years, and now we have a dire need to really reinvest in those trails and try to figure out how to weave our way through all the complications. Thank you.
Just one thing I was going to say, I think if you look at what's gone on with the bucket brigade and the fire recovery, the debris flow efforts in Montecito, I think we probably have the same capability of getting that kind of support on our trails eventually when the horror of what happened to people wears off. So I hope that we continue to reach out to volunteers like you have been doing in nurturing, because I think that's going to be the key, as you know.
I had one question too. On your report, I'm particularly interested in this West Beach splash thing. I think I might go tomorrow. In your report, it says 5 p.m. and then there's a Facebook event that says 5:30 p.m. Just was curious on the time. I want to be there at the right time.
Chair Clark and Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, it should say 5:30 on here. It may have been an earlier time that was refined after this was put together. But it is 5:30, and it is right next to Los Baños. Definitely encourage anyone to attend and give your feedback on where they're going.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, I believe we have Mr. Sewell to come up and talk to us about Perfect Mind.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, yes, I'm Mark Sewell. I'm the Business Manager for Parks and Recreation. And I thought it's a good time to bring you an update on where we are with the implementation of our new system, Perfect Mind. So a bit of context to kind of give you set the scene a little bit. And this is some of this we talked about last month when we shared the budget with you. You know, more than 22,000 activity registrations processed by the Parks and Recreation Department, and over 11,000 facility rentals, dealing with over 7,000 individuals, which equates to nearly $4 million in revenue per annum. And then there's more than 60 of our staff who access the systems to do that. So it's quite a lot of transactional data to process and touches a lot of people in a lot of areas. So we need a good system to help us to deal with that. And you know, the system we used to have was implemented way back in the early 2000s. It's quite a long time in terms of technology. And that system was called CLASS and was to be sunsetted in October 2017 by the owner of that system. And so they'd alerted all of their customers of that with a couple of years' notice, and so we decided to take an opportunity to see what was out there and issued a department-wide RFP, a department-wide effort to determine what we wanted our new system to look like and how we want it to function. And that was issued in 2016. Of the responses that we received, Perfect Mind ranked the highest, and a contract was awarded after a lot of negotiation in May last year. And so then since May last year, we've been working very hard to make sure that we were able to implement the system and configure it to our needs. And we successfully launched the system in March this year, on March 8. So the project goals were pretty broad and pretty much out there as well, in terms of not just let's land a new system, but how can we really take this forward? It's 2018, and how can we look to try to enhance the way in which we transact with our customers? And so we wanted to also try and enhance our revenue generation and program participation. It's a system that has a lot of links into social media and emails and all those kind of things, which of course is now normal technology, but back in 2000, a lot of those things hadn't really been invented at that point. To empower the public to use the system when they want to, how they want to, and to increase our insight into activity of how customers are using the system, to reduce the staff time required to transact, to enhance our reporting, and also as well to make sure we have a robust system that protects customer data. So our new system is highly configurable and allows us an opportunity to tailor the way we want it to work for our needs. It's not a system that just comes out of the box and that's what you work with. It is a fresh and modern interface and mobile friendly. So what that basically means is that you can access it from any sort of device, and the website should render and work for you. And we do think that it actually does empower our customers to do a lot more online than they used to be able to do with their old system. And a key aspect of the new system as an opportunity we wanted to try to take hold of was to reduce some of the paperwork and some of the ways in which we had previously required our customers to interact with us through paper forms and having to queue up in offices and one form for every single, one form every time you want to sign up for an event. So, that starts to get a little tiresome for families with numbers of children and numbers of activities they want to do. So, that was an opportunity to annual waivers and also to use electronic signatures. So as I mentioned, we signed the contract in May 2017, and for the first sort of 6 months of that following process and time was to configure and determine how we're going to implement the system. It was a significant staff effort, and I want to thank everyone who had a part to play in. I'd be here all night if I tried to name them all. But it was wider than just the Parks and Recreation Department as well. Clearly, you need to make sure that it works with the finance team when there's so much money washing through the Parks and Recreation Department. So the finance teams and the attorneys and of course the IT team were very helpful in setting up, helping us set up the databases. We also had to look at our department policies as well, because oftentimes there's opportunity to enhance things as new technology comes in, and just because we did one thing one way before doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be the way going forward. And sometimes systems can determine policies rather than the other way around. We also had to create a lot of data. 86 locations and 217 facilities had to be programmed into the system, along with hundreds of different programs and thousands of fees, when you think about all the permutations there could possibly be. That was no small effort and required a lot of time and effort to put in from people from all the senior supervisors and coordinators. And then, of course, we have to train our staff and test the system. And then I think one thing I'm very proud of the way in which the team completed was actually transitioning all of the permits that were in the previous system into the new system without the customers, most of the time, touch wood, being impacted. There were hundreds and hundreds of different permits and registrations and programs. We didn't just stop what we were doing and say, no, we're changing systems, please don't book anything with us, give us a few months and then come back. We had to program all of that in, and like I say, so far so good. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. And then, of course, troubleshooting. Not everything works exactly the way you think it's going to work first time, so we've had to be very flexible and innovative in our approach. So progress so far, we have more than 6,000. I think actually I wrote this presentation a few days ago, and that's probably near 7,000 now clients in Perfect Mind. Most of those clients were created by the clients themselves using the online system. We chose not to bring forward every single client from the previous system. There were like 20,000 in there, and who knew the validity of that data. And so because we've had nearly 7,000 clients sign up online and not 7,000 phone calls of people shouting at us, I think it's gone pretty well. Our March registrations were actually up 5% when we compared March to last year. And it actually rained on the first day that we opened our summer camp this year. So normally we'd have our offices full, and I think we had like 3 people in one of our buildings and 2 in another. So, I think the online viability was a success in that regard. And just another stat on that, 90% of our summer camp registrations so far are online. So a lot of people are using the system online and the convenience that brings. We have had lots of positive customer feedback and some negative, but luckily the positive is outweighing the negative at this point. Staff are on a pretty steep learning curve. This is a very, very different system to what some of them have used to. And change is difficult for many people, and of course, there's a lot to learn, and we're still going through that process. And some of my colleagues are in weekly calls with the vendor as we continue with our partnership to make sure we're aware of the areas where we need to have continued focus and identifying and resolving any issues that arise. So it's pretty straightforward to create an account. As I mentioned, nearly 7,000 people have already done it. We just want to say a couple of things. The way that it works is that to create an account, you must be over 18. And then once you've created an account, you would then add your children or any dependents to that family account. this is new. They was never able to do this yourself online. It had to be something you'd call us for or come in and see us. And if you wanted to make any changes or update any information, you'd have to come in and see us and during office hours and all of that kind of stuff. Now this is any time on any device. And also what's really handy now is that your email is your username. Again, previously the username and passwords tended to be randomly generated numbers and things you could never remember. So we were forever having to help people and send them a new password because, again, they couldn't do it online. So a lot of the stuff is going to sound like, well, yeah, this is just normal. What's going on, right? Well, not from where we were. It's quite a big change, right? This is what the screen will look like if you actually create a client account and you want to just sign in. This is the first thing you'll be greeted with. And I'll orientate you a little bit onto it. This shows you the schedule of the things that you can book or register for, and you can see how we've taken decisions to group things into different categories, and we feel that gives some sense of ease, of intuitiveness when you first log on to be able to say, okay, what do I want to find? And then within my profile, you would have the opportunity to add family members, adjust information, and all of that kind of stuff. And then you can search for different days of the week, different events, and lots of different criteria to be able to browse and find things to either book or courses and classes and programs to register for. Here's then the next layer of what it would look like when you want to see our outdoor venues, for example. So that would just be clicking on this button here, would take you through to something that looks a little like this. And again, you're able to check availability, you're able to start to filter on the location, the types of things you're interested in, any specific rules, is alcohol allowed or not allowed, all that kind of stuff. And it will just filter your results and say, these are the areas in our network that you can rent if you want to do A, B, or C. And then, is it available? Okay. And this is what it would look like if you're looking at camps and programs. Very similar type of interface. We're now on the full day camps. It will give you a kind of an overview of the camp. And then if you click on things like show courses, it'll tell you when are the camps available, how many spaces are there, what's the fees, all of those different types of things. And you can go on and click on and completely transact online and never have to come in and sign a piece of paper. Medical information. I wanted to just touch on this because this is probably one of the biggest leaps we've tried to take going forward with this new system. So we are required to capture certain medical pieces of information for participants in our programs who are under the age of 18 to make sure that we can provide them, the services in a safe environment and provide any inclusion support that might be necessary. And so what we have now is an automated system that requests this information at account creation and sends a link to a questionnaire for the parent to go on and update the information for their child. They can update that at any point in the year, any point in time, and it just overwrites a record and keeps an ongoing log of the medical information so that when we're looking at this child wanting to participate in this program, we can be sure that they have the right support, or if they have no need for any support, then that's fine, it's not a problem. We just need to know these things as we go through the process. And so the emails are sent there as a request for that information. It's required for participation, but at this point there is no requirement to give us the information. You can book. And so we just need to make sure that our parents and guardians who are signing their children up for programs are aware we still need them to take that step and give us that information. That will be vitally important. There will be people on the first day of camp who will be asking for some medical information from. My plea to them is that if you're one of those people who's already booked and you've got one of these emails, please respond, please let us have your information. First day of camp will go much more smoothly. Going forward, we're looking to continue to try and enhance and really pull some of the power from the system that we know is out there, but we wanted to make sure we were stable when we went live. We didn't want to take off too much and start driving at 150 miles an hour before we realized did we have all four wheels on the car. So we're kind of checking all of the engines tuned up before we start to put our foot down. And as Perfect Mind as an organization continues to develop functionality, and its development cycle is pretty rapid. It's a pretty new company, and it's taken on more and more municipalities in California and the rest of the United States and Canada. And we're seeing that their development is enhancing, and we want to look at those opportunities and say, hey, that sounds good to us. We'd like to take advantage of that feature or that functionality. So some of those things that we're looking to bring on when it's safe to do so are payment plans for summer camps. We want to be able to allow parents, it's a very costly time of the year for a lot of people, allow people the opportunity to select the programs with us and then spread those payments so that it's not all just due straight away, which is our current practice. So unless you're able to afford the significant sums it can be for 2 or 3 children for a number of weeks in the summer, we want to try and make it easier for people to do that with us. So that's something we're hoping to launch for next year's summer camps. We're looking at ways in which we can online, sell our picnics online and allow again more trading from home, and to continue to integrate with our city website and make it easier for our staff to transact and offer excellent customer service. And with that, open up to any questions or comments.
I think that looks absolutely fabulous. Thank you. I wish it happened when my kids were still small and doing these camps. But one is going to be a junior CIT this summer at the skate camp, so I will get to test this out myself. I was just wondering what, with the company that you guys used previously, they told you that they were going to sunset, and then you had to phase out and find something new. So with this company, what kind of contract is there in terms of longevity? Like, did they say they can't sunset for 20 years, 10 years?
Chair Clark, I can tell you that the contract is a 5-year initial term. And I think it would be very rare for any software company to commit anything much, much more than that. And I don't think we as a city would be looking to commit for much more than that in the initial contract. And who knows where technology will be in 4 years' time when we get to the end of this contract. One hopes that we've got a good relationship and they want to continue with this product, and therefore we'd be looking to continue that relationship. But I wouldn't even want to guess where technology will be in 4 years' time.
All right, well, good luck with all that. I recently transitioned to software at my hospital 2 years ago, and we're all still kind of figuring it out.
It is a long process.
It's fun, though. Never boring. Chairman Gill? Sorry, Commissioner. Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived through a few of these software transitions, and they are never boring. One question, this is a large department in the city. Is there any scope for cost savings, leveraging people skills, but across departments? In other words, other departments using something similar, sharing your knowledge, other departments.
Yeah, Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, I think a lot of what we do is fairly unique to our department, but there are certainly other areas where I've already had exploratory conversations with other departments where, for instance, they may be renting rooms or renting facilities. At this stage, it's very early. The brief and the requirement was to make sure we had a system that worked for parks and recreation, but I think it would be very sensible to identify ways. And the IT department, who have a kind of an umbrella responsibility for all of the systems that operate within the city, they do take a view of those types of things. And a recent example would be Cartograph, for example, which the Parks Department will be installing within the Forestry Division and the Parks Maintenance Division. That's actually an add-on to the system which is already being used by the Waterfront Department and Public Works. And so where there are those synergies, it's within the remit of the IT department to make sure that they're trying to push for those kind of solutions.
What do you call that program? Cartograph?
Cartograph.
What does it do?
Cartograph, I think it's like a work order system which enables the city to catalogue its assets and then do planned maintenance and also understand like time and materials used at different locations. And so it has a lot of functionality. It's quite a broad system.
Does anybody else have questions or comments for Mr. Sewell?
Just a quick comment. I'm glad that we're moving to the 22nd century, whatever it is. Being able to do it on your phone is key. That's crazy that you couldn't do that before. I didn't realize that. Again, my kid's only 2, so maybe in the next couple of years I'll be able to get into some programs. But I'm glad to see that you guys are transitioning. It makes a lot of sense. And that's awesome that 90% of the people are doing it online. It makes everybody's life easier, I think.
Just one last curiosity question, really. The 5% uptick in registrations, do you have any sense how much of that might be due to it being easier to register? In other words, being directly due to this change?
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, I think if I could answer that 100% accurately, I would probably be a very wealthy man. Trying to judge people's behaviour when it comes to those types of things is very difficult. What I would say is I look at it the other way around. I would say the risk of changing a system is huge. a couple of you already mentioned you've been through it, and they're never easy and they're always fraught with danger. And so I would have taken anything flat would have been a success. So to then actually grow it a little bit in that first month, to me, said that we didn't make it harder for people to want to trade with us. And I think over time, I think it's a very subjective feel. I don't know whether we can get anything objective necessarily to say, there's so many different reasons why we could potentially do it, but I would like to think that that could be a little tick in the box that, for the first phase of the stabilization of the system, to grow the clients to nearly 7,000, to generate the revenues in excess of where we've been in previous years. To me, I think it's a number of factors, but at least it bodes well for the success of the implementation.
I noticed a couple times you've mentioned the 5% increase in registration, but in our packet it said 5% increase in revenue. Did you modify that after?
Yes.
Okay.
Registration revenue. Sorry to be unclear.
Okay, thank you. And coming from someone whose password used to be YRSGGVY, thank you.
It can still be that if you want.
No, thank you.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, if I could just add a few comments. First of all, it's been 2 years through this process, and Mark Sewell gets great recognition for shepherding it. We did work with other departments like IT, information technology, and finance, but I'd also say that the Parks and Recreation staff that were involved did a tremendous amount of work, and I can paint you a slight picture of our conference room, which you're familiar with, full of people and computers. It reminds you perhaps of a time when you first started having to write papers or learn how to use a computer, and you'd walk in there and you could feel the tension in the air because they were working so focused on trying to get everything done and right and fix things, and why is that not working? And I just have to say, it was a really incredible job done by the staff while they were doing their other duties. So this was an add-on. And the fact that we launched successfully is just tremendous as well. Some of you may have experienced new software as a customer in other places and that hasn't launched as well, and that's not fun. It was done well here. So I just want to express my extreme gratitude and appreciation to the staff team that did that. And they're working through it still today. We're like, okay, day one, we're good. Okay, we're done. It's not like you finished reading the book, you put it on the shelf and you walk away. It's a constant work effort for them. A couple more things. You don't have to be a kid to register for a program at Parks and Recreation. And you can also be able to use our facilities that way and move that forward. And then I just want to circle back to the cartograph system. It's going to be very useful for our forestry work. We've been using Arbor Access for many, many years, and we document every time we touch a tree. So if it's trimmed, if it's removed, what kind of trimming is done. We generate work orders that to tell us what kind of work we should be doing, and then also document what work was done. And it does go back to a question that Commissioner Perry had, which relates more obviously to city trees and street trees. If something does happen, we go back and look at our records, and we use that as a way to gauge, what condition of the tree was the tree prior. When was the last time we looked at it? And it's very, very important for our ability to manage our urban forests. Switching to cartograph brings us into a more consistent system with other departments, and Commissioner McGill asked that question, or perhaps it was Chair Clark. It's like, how do you integrate and involve other departments? That's an example of a system that we would share with other departments and use in a similar way.
Thank you. And that brings us to item 7, Recreation Summer Programming.
Chair Clark, you have both Emily Fox and Jason Bryan for this presentation. Both of them are our senior recreation supervisors, along with Susan Jang Burdick.
Chair Clark, Commissioners, it's a pleasure to present a brief presentation this evening on our summer recreation programs. The Parks and Recreation Department is continuing a long legacy of offering enriching programs throughout the year, and especially a strong emphasis on our summer programs. Camps have always been a large part of what we provide to the Santa Barbara community. We are striving to provide good old-fashioned, fun, engaging, enriching activities that families can feel proud that their children are safe and well supervised and really enjoying themselves, meeting the community need throughout our summer months. Our summer programs are offered the entire 10 weeks of summer breaks from the Santa Barbara Unified School District. There is a whopping one day where school has ended and we are not running our summer programs. So there's a lot that happens in staff training and how we get reorganized, and staff are changing roles from our typical after-school programs throughout the school year to our summer programs. We offer a variety of options to meet many different needs. Some families are looking for full-day options that are kind of broad in scope in what they offer. Other families are looking for part-day. We have programs available from toddlers all the way through teenagers. One of the cornerstones that we have are our sports and fitness programs. Soccer, tennis, beach volleyball. You can see some of the different types. We have a wide variety of options available to the community to meet a lot of different interests. We work with both staff instructors and contractors that are skilled and dedicated to the sports that they're offering. One of the important things that I hear from families a lot is how nice the age appropriateness is of what it is that we're offering. For the young kids, yes, we're going to be developing skills, let them know the rules of the game, but we want to make sure they're having fun. They need to be exposed gently to a new activity, and our staff and instructors do that in a very consistent way, where we're not overwhelming some of our younger, less experienced participants, while our older, more experienced participants can really build their skill level, hone in on what their expertise is, and enjoy the programs in a different way. Another of our cornerstones is, of course, our aquatic programs, being a beach community. Junior lifeguard and our Learn to Swim programs are a big part of what we do every summer, and they continue to be some of our more popular activities. We've been introducing new activities over the years, including surfing, boogie boarding, and different types of beach adventures focused on not only the beach but our pools as well, with the focus always for aquatic programs on water safety, while we also have that fun factor and that wow factor in our summer camps. Another area where we've seen quite a bit of change over the last several years is kind of our enrichment programs and our offerings. Looking at the STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. We have really fun programs like circuitry classes, robotics, 3D printing. We have our theater camps that are relatively new, our cooking camps that are relatively new. So there's a lot of new types of opportunities for families to engage their kids in our summer months, and these are really exciting for us to be able to offer to the community. In addition to the STEAM programs, we have some specialty programs where we're working with, again, some of these are staff-led, some of these are contractor-led, where they are very focused. For instance, we work with the Hearts Equestrian Therapeutics Center for a horse riding program, which sells out really fast these days. Nature Camp is insanely popular, and this is one of those legacy programs where families, the parents remember singing the same camp songs their children are going to be singing this summer. Again, it's just really part of the Santa Barbara fabric of what the families here experience in this community. And it's a great offering that we are a great opportunity for the youth in our community to be able to participate in these programs. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to Emily Fox.
All right, and for teens that are entering 7th through 12th grade, we provide junior counselor programs. These are opportunities for our teens to gain valuable leadership experience supporting the camp day. So they work with the counselors, they lead activities, and we have junior counselors available with our Nature Camp program, Aqua Camp, Skate Camp, and Summer Fun. And for our Summer Fun program, we go an additional step with all of our applicants interested in being involved in that program. They fill out an application. They have to get recommendations from a teacher, a principal, someone who knows them well. And then they also go through an interview process. And part of it is we want them to get that opportunity to experience what it's like to go for an interview for your very first job. And one of the things that was really wonderful this past weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, we did a training for our Summer Fun program. And we had staff that were involved in the program or in the training that had been involved in the Summer Fun program as well as had been junior counselors. So it was fun to see that transition that they've gone through from camper to junior counselor to now a staff member really contributing to that program this summer. Speaking of the Summer Fun program, we'll also be providing the Summer Fun Drop-In Recreation program at both Monroe and Franklin Elementary Schools again. This is an 8-week program, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., where students, for a very affordable fee, $25 total is the registration fee for all 8 weeks, come to either of the 2 school campuses and they participate in games, recreation activities, go on field trips. We also work with the Santa Barbara Unified School District and the summer feeding program so that they can receive a free breakfast and lunch all 5 days during that week. And the wonderful thing about this program is it serves over 480 youth and teens. Our program staff, like Jason mentioned, are a combination of both city staff as well as independent contract instructors. And we've been really lucky, especially these past few years, because the staff that we work with, both city staff and independent contractors, they're really passionate about working with youth. They love their job and they really embody kind of that joy and fun and love of the outdoors and or the specialized activity they're teaching. And with our staff, they also are typically incredibly well trained. Most have special certifications, lifeguards if they'll be lifeguarding or doing aqua camp. For those camp staff that are driving those 15 passenger vans for field trips, they receive their Class B commercial driver's license. And again, many are experts in their field, especially those that are teaching the robotics, the cooking, and other programs. In order to make our programs as accessible as possible to the community and to our families that we serve, we provide extended care options available for working parents. So we have a morning care that goes from 7:30 until 9 a.m. when most of our camp programs begin. And then at the end of the day, we provide an PM extended care program that goes from 4 p.m. until 5:30 p.m. And in addition, we have an affordable afternoon camp that goes from noon until 5:30 p.m. so that anyone who participates in one of our specialty half-day morning camps is able to then enroll in that afternoon land and sea camp and be there throughout the entire camp day while their parents are working. We also offer over 184 scholarships, and we do this working with the Police Activities League. And then for those participants that have health or special needs, we provide inclusion support services. So it may be informing a camp director or program staff that we have someone in the program who has a medical need that they need to keep an extra eye on. Or it could be that in order for a participant to successfully participate, we have an inclusion specialist that attends the camp with them. So we have worked incredibly hard to try and provide as much variety as we can to our families and to the community. We like to say we're trying to provide a little bit of something for everyone. And with that, we have over 35 different varieties of camp programs as well as workshops we'll be offering. And they're for all ages, like Jason mentioned, toddlers all the way on up to teens, abilities and interest levels. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for families to register. Families have the opportunity, if they just want to peruse what programs we'll be offering, we have a very specialized summer camp website that goes through every program, activity. You can do searches based on the camp weeks you're interested in, the ages of your children, as well as if you have a special interest, again, like Lego-inspired engineering, robotics, or dance. We also have our printed activity guides that you've most likely seen around town that are a really nice hard copy way to be able to leaf through that activity guide, circle it, dog-ear the corners, and plan out your summer before you officially go to either one of our offices, either give us a call, or go to our new Perfect Mind software registration system to officially register for that camp program. And that concludes our presentation. We're opening it up to any questions or comments you may have.
I was recently in front of the YMCA. You know how they have the stacks of the magazines and the catalogs, like CASA, Voice, The Independent, and everything was full except for the Parks and Rec stack had like one left in it, which I think speaks to how valuable these camps are for this community, even from the YMCA, which has good camps too. Like people were going for the Parks and Recreation camps. I've sent my kids to Aqua Camp, Nature Camp, Camp Rad, Skate Camp, and I've been delighted with every single camp, with the quality of the instructors, the care provided. My kids came home exhausted, but in one piece, which I thought was fabulous. And I just encourage everyone to go online and sign up at Perfect Mind for an amazing summer experience for their children. Anybody?
Am I too old to sign up for Camp Rad?
It's really rad.
Was rad still a word? I guess that answered my question. I knew the only thing I would say is that I would have loved to have something like that when I was growing up. I grew up in too small a town, I think. But it's your passion and energy for these programs comes through in the way you describe them. And I can only imagine what the programs are like, since I'm obviously too old for Camp Rad, so I won't find out myself.
So, Commissioner McGill, you may be too old for camps, but you can also go on to the website Perfect Mind and sign up for other activities or check out a venue for an event you may be having. And that brings us to item 8, discussion of the Louise Lowry Davis Center renovation project.
So Chair Clark and Commissioners, Justin Van Mullum, who's a project planner with our department, is going to give this presentation. He is also the one who's been overseeing the work effort to design the renovation to date. This is an example of another exciting project as we look at our facilities, our buildings, our parks, taking something that's been in our inventory for a very long time, had a little bit of upgrade, and Justin will go through that more, some time ago, just to make it actually more functional and deal with deferred maintenance. And this is similar to moving forward, revisioning this building with the idea that if and when it happens, it's done. And we've brought it into the 21st century or the 22nd, hopefully not that long, and it'll serve the community for many, many years. So with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Justin.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, my name is Justin Van Mullum. I'm with Parks and Recreation Project Management Team, and as Jill has mentioned, I've had the pleasure of working on this project for a couple of years now, and this is an update. So on the right, we've got a current aerial photograph of the whole block, and this is important because I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history. First, kind of catching our bearings, at the corner of Delavina and Victoria Street is the building, our site, and then we've got over 100 parking spaces that are shared between the Teens Center and the Spencer Adams Lawn Bowls. So on the left-hand side, we have an old Sanborn map, which the Sanborn maps have been around since the 1860s, I think it was started. And the city stopped using them in the 1960s. So over 100 years, what would happen is that as things changed, the map wouldn't be redrawn. They would just paste over a new portion. But the reason I'm showing you this is to kind of give you an idea of what was happening on this site over time. So it was the original, the whole block was the original site of the first high school of Santa Barbara, which was built in the 1880s. It was a multi-story, unreinforced brick building that was in this location right here. And you can see the dashed lines that over time, from the original, originally when this map was first drawn, and then slowly you'd get these paste-ons covering things up. So I've dashed in what I could see through. And currently what we have is the site building, which is right here. And then we've got another building that is still on the site, which was used as an administration building, which is why it looks similar but has much nicer details than the building that was used for more of a workshop. In 1924, the high school was moved to its current location in 1925. As we all know, there was an earthquake and the building was then demolished. So the history of the building in 1923 is when it was built. It was used as a vocational training by the school district. Some classes that might have been taught in it were home economics, and also the architect that drew the plans, according to one of the yearbooks, taught a drafting class in this building. In 1923 was when the city Parks and Recreation Department started using it as a community recreation department. And then that continued all the way until 1969 when the school district deeded the building to the city and it was remodeled and renamed. There was a recreation supervisor by the name of Louise Lowry Davis, who raised a quarter of the funds for the remodel, and also the building was renamed after her. It was then used as an adult recreation building, and in 1991 it was declared a structure of merit based on its association with the Santa Barbara's first high school. In 2005 it was remodeled. There was severe maintenance that was required. There were accessibility upgrades needed not only to the site but also to the restrooms. It received a much needed heating system and partial air conditioning and the electrical upgrades that were required to do this. Currently, the building is being used as a senior activity center. Classes that are taught there, or activities at bridge, chess, tai chi, just to name a few. And then we've got senior-focused educational lectures, as well as free hot lunches served Monday through Friday to low-income seniors. There's also our community resource. These meeting spaces are used for affordable meetings for nonprofits, as well as for meeting spaces for private events such as weddings and business events. Our project goals and objectives are to upgrade the building systems, like the air conditioning or the lighting, and also improve the exterior aesthetic, some curb appeal, which is much needed, signage, so you can see the signs from the street and from the parking lot, and trying to provide a sense of entry. And then increased site safety. There's been issues with misuse of the building and the site several times, and staff is concerned, so we're going to focus on site safety as well as expanding the use of the facility. As we all know, the baby boomers are starting to retire, and we need to plan for the future. So the department's main goal is just to maximize this existing community resource. So these group of photographs remind me of the first time I went to this building. I parked on De La Vina Street. There's a De La Vina address. I went up to the front door, as you can see from the photo on the left. It redirected me with this exit only sign. I went around, and this photograph, one of my coworkers said, that's a horrible photograph, but that's what it really looks like because the back of the building is so in shadow and it's hard to see the doors from the parking lot. So as I walked around, I tried the first door that I came to. The second door was the door to the kitchen addition, and then finally the door that is the main entrance was open. In the 2005 remodel, that entry was changed. It has an accessible ramp, and these bollards were added with railings. But the problem is if you have cars parked on both sides, it's very difficult to see those entry elements. Here's the existing interior. The top left is the reception area. So as you enter, there is a reception cubicle that isn't secure, but there is someone that meets you when you walk in. And then you've got on that same side of the building an activity room that's really well used. As you can see, I think that they're playing chess in that photo, but there's no air conditioning on that side of the building. And the windows are single glazed aluminum windows that are that you see typically in 1970s houses. So it gets warm. And then on the other side of the building, the lower photo, is the multi-purpose room, which is large. It can handle about 150 people. But one of the things that is uncomfortable about that space is the low ceiling. So I'm going to point out in a later perspective where the ceiling is. You can see that it is right up next to, almost on top of the top of the windows. We've done a lot of outreach and stakeholders meetings for this project. We've met with facility staff on several different occasions. We've gone around and talked to seniors using the facility, like the two ladies playing a board game in the photograph. And we've also met with users of the multi-purpose room, the Women League of Voters, and the AARP. One of the interesting meetings that we had was with the catering and event planners, and I'll go into that a little later. So this is the existing plan. Now let me get my bearings here. Here's Victoria Street. Here's De La Vina. This is that front entrance off of De La Vina Street. And here is the parking lot. The colors on the plan, this darker purple and is office, lavender are the multi-purpose rooms, and then you have this orange color is storage, and you can see that there's a little storage in this area as well. And then the taupe is circulation. That you can see there's circulation in both these areas, and then yellow is the kitchen. So we have exterior suggestions to define the main entrance. There are 4 different entrances, and it's hard to find which one is unlocked. We've got a request to improve signage that not only can be seen from an automobile driving by, but also from someone that parks in the 100-space parking lot and starts to walk towards the building. And then maximizing the courtyard. If you haven't been in the courtyard, it has this incredible mountain view and view of downtown. But because of misuse, there's benches that have been removed, and it has no existing connection with the building. So you have to walk outside around a ramp to this existing patio. And of course, improve safety with the number of different entrances and that courtyard. There's been misuse on the site with illegal camping. Interior suggestions were that a more formal reception area by the main entrance be created, so staff not only can meet and greet people as they walk in, but also keep an eye on doors and corridors. So when people come in, they can be redirected. To create a waiting area was one of the requests, because a lot of the people that use this facility, they get dropped off and picked up because they're no longer driving. And with the existing situation, they're either waiting outside or right next to the main entry door. More programming space has been an ongoing request as the senior population grows. It's very difficult to reserve a room here currently on a short amount of time because it's very active. So trying to find more space is a critical request. And then climate control, we've not only heard that from staff, but also from our senior users. If we could find a way to air conditioning the other half of the building, they would really appreciate it. And storage is a continued issue. One of the reasons is the existing storage area is big enough, but it's this odd shape, so it's hard to get our carts in and out. And if you have to pull out 3 carts just to get to what you're trying to set up, it's not really convenient. And then to simplify the kitchen. So this came from the caterers and event planners that we met with. What they're looking for is more space to put plates, so just surfaces. They don't need cabinets that have doors. They need shelves so they can put things that they can see, and they don't need underneath cabinets. They need a place to roll things underneath so it's out of the way. But one of the things that came up with that meeting that was quite interesting is that they talked about this facility and the different benefits it currently has. It is downtown. It's a historic building. It has 100 parking spaces. And with a few different changes, it could be a well-used, mid-sized venue for events. So some of their comments will be incorporated in the proposed plan. But before I switch over, I just want you to take a look at the amount of purple here, and then also this space as I transition into the proposed plan. The exterior improvements of the proposed plan include the entry pergola, which is right here, and I'll show you a perspective of what that looks like. And then the removal of the street entrance, which is right here. And the courtyard improvements include doors that go out to this new patio and a new courtyard. Also, this 20 by 40 approximately shade pergola that will allow for seating and tables and chairs. We also are including this ramp and a set of stairs. So if you think about this space, if you're standing up or you're sitting down in this space, this large patio or landing is about the size of a stage, and it's elevated at about the same height. Interior improvements include circulation changes. So as you enter, now you have this open area that can be used as a waiting room or a lounge. So when you're waiting for your ride or you're waiting for the chess club to change into the next knitting club, then you have a place to sit and wait and air conditioning and shade. Also, this is a new area. We've really maximized this space and opened it up. It used to be this awkward corridor that you'd have to take a dogleg left and a dogleg right just to get through, and now it's open and has the ability to be used as potentially an auxiliary space for a meeting. Think of it as a place that maybe you're serving drinks or food and it's out of the way, or maybe you want to have a place to have a quieter conversation during a meeting and you have this space to break out. Our program flexibility is provided with this new wall that accordions back, and in a later perspective I'll show you a view from this angle to show you how open it looks when this wall is pushed back into the existing wall. And also this connection to this whole new space. Now, this patio, it increases the usable space of the building by over 50%. We also have got storage efficiencies with our existing closet now being reconfigured, and we've got much more storage kind of peppered throughout the building. So this has a roll-up door where you're able to drive the carts right into its own little parking space. So it's much more efficient, and you're able to get exactly what you need without going through the 2 or 3 carts that are in the way. And climate control, of course, we've mentioned is a big issue for users, will be accomplished by adding new low-E windows and doors, also upgrading the air conditioning to the other side of the building. We also, I don't think I mentioned, but this is red area is a fence. It's about a 6-foot high fence that is around it. It secures the patio. So if you wanted to come and use the patio, you would still need to go through, greet the receptionist, and then go through the doors onto the patio. You could use either the stairs or the ramp to get to that space. And if you wanted to leave, there are doors, are gates that are lockable that would lock behind you as you waited for your ride underneath the shade of the pergola. You could use those gates to go out into the parking lot. So now we're into our fun part of a presentation with a few photographs and perspectives to finish up the presentation. Here we have the existing view from the parking lot, and I want you to note the shed roof that is existing. It really kind of, this is an addition, but we need the space. It provides the kitchen. So what we've looked at is trying to reduce that mass so it doesn't obscure the entry, and we've removed the shed roof and uncovered the original entry. So remember when I was showing you the Sanborn maps, this was an internal campus, so the front door wasn't at the Delavina entry. That was created in 1969. The front door actually has an arched opening, and we are uncovering it by removing that shed roof, which will put a skylight that will allow natural light to come into the kitchen and also into that bathroom hallway. And here is the pergola that is out in the courtyard. And now we've got a view from the parking lot. We've got the shade pergola, that 20 by 40 structure, our 6-foot tall wrought iron fence, and then you can now really see how far out that entry pergola will be from the existing kitchen addition that no longer has that shed roof. So you'll be able to see that driving by on the street and clearly from the parking lot. Here's that perspective I was telling you about. This is the accordion wall removed, so it's been pushed back and you have the ability to see the whole space. So this is a collage of different potential uses. We have dancing, we have a recital going on. This looks like there's a wedding couple that have just walked in. We've got maybe some fathers trying to watch their children as they're playing in the outside courtyard. This is a good photograph to point out those drop ceilings hide this steel trusses that are still up there, and that's what was originally there, and it still has the tongue and groove ceiling. Here is a site section. Let me give you an orientation. This is Victoria Street right here. That's a bus that's on Victoria. And then it's as if you're on Delavina Street and they've sliced the building so you can see what's going on. So here's our large room, and then there's that storage room I was telling you about, and then this is the activity room and the courtyard. So enlarging the larger multi-purpose room, excuse me, you get a sense of how large those ceilings could be. Remember that photograph I showed you of where the drop ceiling currently is? It's right about there. So there's a lot of volume and space that could be opened up to make this room feel like it was when it was originally built. And then here on the other side, here is that reception area. There's the reception desk and office. There's the front door. There's the really large patio with you could step down. And then here's the courtyard. And of course, you also have a ramp that'll get you to that elevation as well. This is the hallway and kitchen. I was telling you about the skylight, and there's this arched opening that we can uncover from that hallway that goes into by the restrooms and allow all this natural light to come into that space, also celebrating that original entrance. And here is how that is accomplished in a section of the kitchen with the flat roof and the skylight. So we've been busy with this project. In June of 2016, we hired the architect. September of 2016, we had a Parks and Recreation meeting, had you take a look at the conceptual plan to give us approval to go on with the working drawings. November of 2016, we had our first Historic Landmarks Commission meeting, and then went to, in June of 2017, a setback variance. We needed a setback variance for the pergola that is in the courtyard. And then we continued on to HLC in July of 2017 for project design approval, which allowed us to start working drawings. In January of 2018 was the HLC's project design final, and then just recently we went to the Neighborhood Advisory Council. Budget, we're using general funds of $65,000 in FY17 and $120,000 in FY18 to fund this project. We've spent $163,000 on design, plans, and construction documents, $123,000, and our estimated construction budget is $2.5 million for this project. Funding is to be determined, but we will be pursuing grants and Measure C funds if possible. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
While they're thinking about their questions, I just want to make a quick comment. Is that since I've been on the commission, I've been struck by how invested the department is in not marginalizing our seniors. And I know it seems like we put a lot into a very old building, but it's like their community center and it's senior serving. And I think what you've done is incredibly well thought out, and you're really recreating a space it's more of a home for people that are often overlooked. So I'm just thoroughly impressed by the project, and I think it is worthy of our funds, and I hope we do find funding sooner rather than later.
Yeah, is the goal to get bids? I guess maybe first have to identify the funding, or what's the construction timeline? I think the design looks great. It's really exciting. There's a lot of uses. I don't think 2.5 is that much, honestly, to do how good it's going to look. So what's the next step?
Chair Clark and Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, I'll take a stab at that. As Justin mentioned, we are basically, with our HLC approval in January, it gave us the ability to actually put together the plans that you could then submit to the building department. We're close to being ready to do that, and the permit phase, issuance phase can take a little while, and so how we time that does sort of depend on funding and some scheduling actions. I can say once we are issued a building permit, we have 2 years to move forward with the project. There will be some discussion by council regarding the feasibility of using some Measure C funds for this project. Justin also mentioned every year we have a CDBG cycle community development block grant cycle. Part of the reason why we recommended a number of years ago that some general funds be used on this project is because to get ready for a community development block grant application, they just want to fund construction. So now we're sort of ready. There may be other opportunities. There is a park bond on the ballot in June, and if it passes by the voters, there could be a number of different competitive options for us to apply for grants. There's a little bit of per capita money. It's not going to probably go very far. So we keep thinking of all those things. Once we're done this process, we can start looking for funding. And hopefully, depending on how things lay out, the goal is as soon as possible. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but we'll be ready. And that's what we want to be.
So say it doesn't get going within the 2 years, then what's the process for, say you get funding like 3 years from now and the permits are 2 years old?
Chair Clark, we do, and I don't know the specifics, and Justin may be better able to answer this. You can ask for an extension on a building permit. Sometimes things change in terms of codes and rules, and I don't know to what extent we'd have to address those. Maybe Justin can answer this more clearly.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, yes, you're able to ask for multiple extensions if you have good reasons, and several projects have done that in the past, especially with the economic downturn.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Thank you for that presentation. And with that, I think, unless I'm missing something, I think we're adjourned. All in favor?